How long are we going?
About 30.
All right, cool.
You're good. I'd like to welcome to another edition of the All Angels podcast. I am here with returning guest Victor Rojas, it's weird to say that, former play-by-play announcer for the Angels. Victor, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So like I said, former play-by-play announcer of the Angels. Are you used to seeing that in print, hearing that when people say it, or I mean, 11 years?
Yeah, I know it's crazy that it was 11 years. No, I don't think it's really sunk in yet as far as the whole former thing. But I know it's part of what my name will be going forward as far as in Southern California. It'll be former. It'll start with former
Yeah.
Angels announcer, but it kind of is what it is, and it's been a whirlwind over the last couple of days.
Yeah, and to talk about that, obviously, you left for a new job, the Frisco Rough Riders president and GM of
Yep.
the AA affiliate of the Texas Rangers. So obviously closer to home for you. For people that don't know, you're in the Dallas area. How long has this been not an option, but like had the idea of taking this route?
Well, it kind of just came to be via text message with Chuck Greenberg, who at one time was the managing general partner of the Texas Rangers, but he owns three minor league teams. He owns Frisco Rough Riders, Myrtle Beach Pelicans, and the State College Spikes. And he and I have become friendly over the last couple of years, just exchanging texts periodically. And I've kind of asked some questions too from a business perspective, especially with the apparel business. And we just became close and friendly. And great dude. And early November, he shot me a text asking me, or telling me, not really asking me, telling me that there was going to be an opportunity in Frisco because his general manager just departed to go outside of baseball, and that just to consider it and maybe we could talk about it. And it didn't really evolve into much because he was waiting for the invitation from Major League Baseball with the whole new the minor league system being changed out and 20 affiliates being dropped. He was still waiting for that to happen like the first week of December. And once we got into December, we just kept having conversations. It was just conversations that evolved into another conversation, and kind of, they were long. I mean, they were exhaustive and certainly and very detailed, but it was more about just kind of get to know each other, really in depth, get to know each other, and what I felt and what I wanted to do and the like, and really didn't get serious about it all until right around New Year's Eve. I was in Tennessee with the family. We had a call right before New Year's, and spent about an hour on the phone then. And then right when I got home, that Sunday, Monday, we had another conversation, and by then we knew that we were going to move forward with it.
So, obviously this is great for you personally because it is closer to home.
Yeah.
With the 2020 season being what it was, and it's just being hectic for everyone, and for you especially, not knowing if you're going to be able to work or when you'll be able to work, or how, honestly, how you were going to be able to work. Did that like extra time at home with your family, with your, obviously your two kids, your wife, did that kind of put a little more thought into it as far as like, what, getting a job close to home where I'm not traveling as much is really going to be beneficial for myself?
Well, it's something that had been in the back of my mind for a couple of years, and I've thought about it and talked to several friends of mine in baseball and other GMs, and kind of expressed the interest of wanting to maybe pursue something that would be in a front office position. That if that meant I had to leave Texas to go somewhere else, but I would be in a full-time role and I could be at home, that I would explore that. And nothing really materialized. We had some conversations, but nothing serious. And then the Angels GM thing came about, and I think at that point, already with my mindset being that I was thinking about doing things more at home, having gone through the process with the Angels, I think that kind of really solidified my ideal, whether it was this past offseason or this current offseason or after my contract runs out. I didn't know what that was going to be, but I knew that I wanted to do something that would keep me close to home. And then like I said, when Chuck called, and as soon as he texted me and we had our first conversation, it was exciting to think about the possibility of staying here in my backyard. And the question was going to be really from a financial standpoint, since the minor leagues, they were coming off a season in which they didn't play any games, so they had no revenues coming in. What Chuck really wanted to do, and the ownership group wanted to do, going into this year. And as I said, they didn't have to hire a GM. They already had somebody in Scott Burchett who'd been there for 15, 16 years. And he would have been perfect as a placeholder to get through this year and then into the offseason and maybe go into the search in the fall of 21. But Chuck, I think through the conversations that we had, felt really confident about it. He liked the idea of being aggressive, and he talked it over with his group. And here I am. They decided to push more chips into the table and really kind of hit the ground running, get some wind behind our sails going into 21. Hopefully, we play some games, and then really lay the groundwork for fall and then next spring going into a full slate of games in 22.
And you mentioned it too about the GM interview process with the Angels. Is that something, a GM of a major league team? Is that something like if you look at Victor Rojas in 6-7 years, is that kind of a goal of yours?
I honestly don't know, Daniel. I mean, I'd like the idea of it. I've never. I guess I've always been of the mindset of you just never know, right? Things change, priorities change, people change, circumstances change. I'm at a place in my life now. My daughter's she is a senior. She's going to graduate in May. My second daughter, my oldest, is married and expecting her first in March. So Maddie's going to graduate in May. She's going to go off to college in Phoenix. Tyler's a sophomore playing baseball this year. I don't know what's going to happen a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. I signed a multi-year deal. So my plan and intention is to honor that deal, but anything can happen. There's been a lot more play on me taking this job, me stepping away first, right, and me taking this job than I ever imagined. I never expected it to be as big a deal as it has become. Maybe because not that I don't know. Maybe that I guess the word that I'm trying to say is not that I take anything away from my skill set. But I just feel like, I was just a radio or TV guy for the Angels. I didn't think it was going to be this big of a deal that I was walking away from my family. So that has shined the spotlight a little bit brighter on me, and maybe it opens some doors. I'm looking at my LinkedIn profile over the last couple of days, and the request for people to connect on there. All of a sudden, it's completely different than the group of 2,500, 3,000 that I had before, and
right.
And so you just never know. You never say never. You never turn down opportunities. I'm always willing to talk, but I'm committed to Chuck Greenberg and this ownership group. I'm happy where I'm at, and what the future holds, I have no idea. As we also asked you with the pandemic, and anything could happen and anything could change on a dime. So you never know.
And one of the reasons why too I wanted to bring you on with everything going on is kind of to reminisce and kind of think about your Angel, like I said, 11 years with the Angels.
Yeah,
they're gonna interview someone at some point, but do you remember your interview for that job?
Yeah,
way back, and
yeah.
I mean, take me through that. How did you feel going into it? Did you feel like you nailed it, or
You're talking about the broadcasting job, right?
Yeah, broadcasting.
Yeah, for sure. Tim Mead, I was at MLB Network. Tim Mead called me, and I honestly felt that because I had done the show the night before, that I thought maybe that I had said something. I've known Tim since I was a kid, since I was in 8th grade, and so I thought, oh, what did I say last night on the air? That was my mindset. Did I say something negative about the Angels? And he was just going to be a nice, typical diplomatic Tim Mead. No, but he called and asked me if I'd be interested in talking to Artie Moreno about the TV job, and which caught me off guard because at MLB, people talk about the industry and stuff like that. The word had been that we had heard was that they were going to just use fill-in announcers for the year because Roy passed away in March or in January. The season was going to start in late March, early April. That they were just going to use fill-in broadcasters for the year and then go into a full-fledged search. So when he called me and asked me if I was interested, I was flattered. And the first person I called was my dad. And I asked him what he thought, considering I was already under contract with MLB Network. And he just said, and I'll never forget it, he said, if the owner of the team wants to talk to you, you go talk to the owner of a team. And so we flew out to Arizona, and we stayed at the Marriott Buttes there in Tempe, right outside the left field. And I met with Artie and John Carpino and Dennis Kuhl, and had a nice lunch meeting and spent a couple of hours there. I brought my family and my little kids with me. I figured just make a little weekend vacation out of it. And by the time I walked back to the pool where my family was at, I knew that that they were going to offer a job. I didn't know it. I had a sense. I had a feeling that that the interview went well. And they just asked me about me and how I viewed the game and what my idea or philosophy was of a broadcast. They knew me from my work on MLB Network, and they asked if I'd be interested in moving to Southern California. So I explained the ties to them that I had and the connection to the organization that I felt I had. And I texted. Really, I sat it down at the pool after I told Kim that I think they're going to make an offer. I texted Tim back saying, "Thank you so much for the opportunity." He said, "Hang tight. I'm going to call you here in a few." And that's when I really knew that it was going to move forward. And it happened. I want to say that was a Friday. By Friday night, I knew that there was going to be some sort of an offer coming. And then by Saturday, it was pretty much done. It was really one phone call, 2 phone calls with Tim Mead, and it was a done deal. And so I had to fly back to New Jersey and then break the news to MLB Network on that Monday. And then Wednesday was my last show at the network.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like it was kind of yesterday when you and Gooby started. And for me personally, and then obviously we're getting a lot of comments on here. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of stuff like this, great run. Thanks for, everything. It just, how has the fan outreach been since the news came out of you, obviously taking the next job?
It's been cool. You get the typical, like anything else in our society today, you get the typical 2 or 3 trolls that they call you a traitor or whatever. You screwed us. Or, I don't know what that means, but I stopped. I have a saying. I won't say it on here, but it has to do with opinions. That everybody has one.
Yeah, I can see where that's going. Yeah.
But I think it's been overwhelming. It really has. I was just talking to Roger Lodge earlier today, and I said the same thing. I knew that the press release, when I put that out, not the press release, the tweet that I put out on Saturday, saying that it was time or whatever. I knew it would be a little bit of a ripple in the Angels fan base, Orange County, SoCal area.
Right.
I never imagined how big it would be. And maybe because Saturday was a slow news day. And so, a broadcaster who under contract in his prime, leaving a number 2 market is probably, insanity. And that's probably why it got so much play. But the feedback has been tremendous, and everyone's been wonderful, whether Angels fans or otherwise. And even more so when the news came out and the press release came out on Monday about me taking this job in Frisco. Again, everyone's been extremely positive about it, and everyone's been honest. They're bummed or whatever, they're upset, but they understand the reasoning behind it. And look, it's not as if I'm left and I'm taking a job with the Dodgers, and then I can understand the animosity, and I get that. Or if I'd left for another team or something like that. But heck, there were Ranger fans that were upset when I took the Angel job. I spent 5 years here in Texas and loved it, but I went to MLB Network and I wasn't looking to go back into a team, and I just got hired by the Angels, and it's almost as if I turned my back on Ranger fans, and that wasn't the case. It's just circumstances happen, and sometimes you got to do what's best and what's in your best interest, and as well as your families.
So obviously you've seen many highlights, as with your time with Fox Sports West. Like I have some of them here that came to mind. Trout's debut, you've seen 3 no-hitters, 2 cycles, all of Albert's obviously accomplishments through the years. Shohei, it doesn't have to be on the list, but is there any that kind of stands out? First thing that when you think of looking back, that's the first thing that you think of?
Yeah, the 2 that stand out, it's kind of 1 and 1A, are the Pujols 600 and Weaver's no hitter. It just I actually, those were 1 and 1A until the Taylor Cole Felix Pena combined no hitter, because someone asked me to rank them before that no hitter, and I think the impact of Jared being a homegrown product and Simi Valley, Long Beach State Angels guy, and doing it at home, it was like perfect. And Albert's 600th home run, it was cool because it took so long for, I think he hit 599 on Monday, and then on Thursday, it's the anticipation of every single at bat, the rest of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday coming up against Irvin Santana with the bases loaded. I thought that was pretty cool. But the greatest single moment I've ever experienced in my life in a ballpark was the combined no hitter with Taylor Cole and Felix Pena. There's no doubt about that. So that's just a magical moment that Hollywood would screw that script up somehow. But it was just I'm glad it unfolded before our eyes.
And going back to that game, because that's obviously a game that I think every Angel fan can relate to, or at least that's the one thing that pops into their head first. We were actually there, me and my buddy John and my buddy Chris, and I think it was around the 7th inning where we're kind of just chatting. We kind of lose track of what's going on, and then we kind of bump each other and say, "Hey, look!" And then we all kind of just nod towards the scoreboard. Did you have any idea what was going on, or at what point did you realize what was going on?
It was kind of like about the 6th inning or thereabouts. We had so many things going on,
right? Yeah,
from a tribute perspective, and looking back and highlights. Really, the whole show was really Tyler Skaggs driven. And, after guests and stuff like that, it's like finally, as we got to about the 6th inning or thereabouts, we started to settle in and just looking at the Gooby. I'm like, this is this really going to happen? Is this on this night of all things? And it played out that way. So, I mean, from the time Debbie threw that ceremonial first pitch to Rengifo falling down on a knee, and I was going to kill him. I thought he bobbled the ball. I thought he was going to screw it up somehow. But it was just it was a magical moment. And then just how things organically played out on the field with guys taking off their jerseys and putting on the mound. It's just the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah, it was something that was really special.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, from the pregame ceremonies to all the way through. Like you mentioned, the moment at the end of the game with all the players. Something else you did with the Angels also, and you obviously did a lot of the pregame, whether it was an award or the like Hall of Fame induction, the Angel induction Hall of Fame. Did you like that? Do you like that public speaking? Because it's like, it's one thing when you're on the TV, but you're looking at a game and you don't see everyone looking back at you. But when you're in front of a stadium and people are in their seats and you are the focus, how was that? Did you like it? Is it something that you asked to do, or they approached you to do that?
No, I think that was the organization that always asked me to do those moments, and I'm thankful that they thought enough of me to be the person down on the field doing that. And truth be told, I guess I've done enough television, radio, and public speaking where you're just kind of really following a script. And when you look out and you see a stadium from the perspective that where I'm standing from a podium. You're really not looking at any one individual because you're just kind of, scanning the seats, if you will. So I think when you get into trouble, and I tell my kids all the time with public speaking and stuff like that, the one thing that you always try to do is never look at anybody in their eyes. Just look at the top of their head, and it looks like you're looking at them. Because I think what happens sometimes is that from a public speaking standpoint, the minute you lock eyes with somebody or you see somebody's eyes, you could see the emotion or a reaction that maybe you don't like, and that throws you off of what you are actually supposed to be doing. So the key is to kind of just stick and move as quickly as possible without locking eyes, because it could throw you off. Now there's people that are really good at it and it doesn't matter, and they could go in a different direction because they saw someone's reaction and feed off of that. And I think those are incredibly talented people. But no, the honor of being able to stand out there and call out all the former Angels, and especially in Hall of Fame ceremonies, is just it was amazing. Especially we did the 50th anniversary. It's crazy. It was 10 years ago. This is the 60th anniversary of the ball club this year. So it's crazy to think that was 10 years ago. All the guests that we had up in the booth after doing the on-field thing. It's been a fun run. There's no doubt about that. I have no regrets, other than I wish we would have won a little bit and partied a little bit more together, but it wasn't meant to be.
You talk about in the booth, or people are talking about you in the booth, and they kind of appreciate the honesty. This one right here, especially pretty much the honesty and not being so kind of homer driven. And I agree with that completely. Something messed up, kind of like you were saying with the Rengifo thing. If he bobbled that's something that you're going to obviously not be happy about.
Right.
But in your mind when you're there, is that kind of a thought like, hey, I can't lean, too much, ball club heavy. Like you kind of still have to placate to the fans, but also be true to yourself.
No, I never thought about that. I guess the only time I really did was, if I did a national game, when I did the playoff series, Milwaukee and Arizona, because you do have to play down the middle and just call the game and be down just straight down the middle. And it doesn't matter because
Everyone thinks you're done.
yeah, because Milwaukee wins the first two, and Diamondbacks fans thinks you're a Brewers fan, and all of a sudden go to Arizona, the Diamondbacks win those two there, and the Brewers fans hate you. So it is what it is. But I've always just kind of been of the mindset of I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be honest with you, and I continue to say this, and it becomes factual, even more factual as the days go by. Is the fact that fans today are more educated than they've ever been. They have access to all the same information that we do. You can't really lie to them on the air, and if you do, it's kind of on you. And so I've always been a believer of just being honest. I think as an Angel broadcaster, clearly I want the Angels to win. But if they're booting the ball around, it needs to be called out, or it needs to be addressed in a proper manner. If someone's not hustling, I think that needs to be called out as well, because I think there's an expectation. I think when you're in the big leagues, you should play the game a certain way. And I think from a fan base perspective, whether Angels or otherwise, I think fans have an expectation of the product that they pay to see. And when it's not at 100%, I think it deserves to be criticized to a certain extent. And so, we saw a lot of that last year, right? Because of the way the team was playing, and a number of circumstances. Last year's hard because it's like with the pandemic and so many variables that go into it. It just never felt right for the Angels anyway. And it just snowballed until the brief little run they had in late August, early September, about 10 days, and then reality set back in. But I just always felt like if I'm gonna lose my job, this is the most subjective. It's the most subjective business ever, right? Because Artie at any point can wake up and say, I don't like Victor's ties, I'm going to change. Or I don't like the sound of his voice, I'm going to change. That's just the nature of the business. It's subjective. It's completely subjective. But I've always felt that if I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to lose it being true to myself. And if I'm true to myself, I'm being true to the fan base and the listeners. And that's kind of how I've always looked at it. So I never once had one comment from anybody from a front office perspective, from a player, coach, manager perspective. I'm sure they maybe thought it, but they never said anything to me about it. And I always made sure that if I did say something that was in that gray area on a night, during a night broadcast, that because I have a memory of an elephant. Unfortunately for me, I don't forget many things, and that's another story. But I'm cognizant of the things that I say on the air. I know what I'm saying. I know in the manner I'm saying it. I understand the tone in which I'm relaying the message. And so if there was ever a time that I felt like, okay, I know that I zung somebody there, I always made sure that the next day I was in the dugout as they came out for BP, and that I stood at the top step and everyone saw me. And so that if anybody had an issue with it, feel free to step up and say something. And never had one instance from a player manager perspective do that. I did have Artie call me one time. We were in Cleveland, and it was a game. I think we were at home, and Alberto Callaspo, he grounded out, and he did the jog down the first base line. And that really, I don't remember the genesis of the game or the situation, but it really it pissed me off to no end. And I said something, and something, it's not that hard to run 90 feet, at full speed, even if you're going to be out. And I remember Artie calling me in Cleveland when I was in the hotel room, and he basically, I thought I was going to get in trouble for something, as usual. When the owner calls you, you're always worried about it. But he said he wanted to thank me for basically saying what I felt and what I was thinking at that moment. And I thought that was really cool of him. He didn't have to do that. But that's really the only instance ever that ever came up.
Obviously, too, I don't think I can go without saying I don't know which one's Batman and which one's Robin, or who's Slash. And who was it? Slash and why am I
Axl Rose.
Axl Rose, exactly. Mark Guba's your running mate.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun seeing you guys,
Yeah.
listening to you guys, joke around, having a laugh. What are something that you're gonna miss, especially from him? Now that you're not going to be up there with him for games.
The conversations, really. I mean, it's just he's like a brother to me, and we talked about anything and everything, and spent a lot of time together, both at home and on the road. On the road, especially, we drove together to the ballpark and did the game, drove back, hung out at the bar afterward. There wasn't a night we didn't go out and shot the breeze at a bar and just talking life and baseball and whatever came to mind. It didn't matter. Playoff basketball was on. We talk about that, and I just enjoyed his company. He's just a great guy and great family man, and I learned a lot from him. And that's really the biggest thing that I'll miss, other than being able to call games for the fan base that I love so dearly. So it's unfortunate the time has come. He's still bumming hard, but it's not like we're ever going to lose touch. So that's a good thing.
That's good too. Like you mentioned, like a brotherhood, and that came across because you guys were never uptight. You guys can play off each other as far as jokes, and no one ever seemed to take it too serious or anything like that. And that was a lot of fun too. As as a person that sees you guys, hears you guys every night, it's almost like hey, I'm part of the conversation because you guys could be talking about something that happened yesterday, and because I watched or whatever, I'm in on it.
Yeah,
and that was just a lot of fun, and
that was always our intention too, by the way.
Yeah,
we didn't speak about it specifically, but it takes a while to develop a rapport, no matter if you had a relationship with the person before or otherwise. And I did have a relationship with Mark. I knew him. But broadcasting is different, right? Because there's nuances that go into a game broadcast, the back and forth, the dead time, reads, production stuff, all kinds of stuff. And so it takes a little while to develop that a true on camera or on air chemistry. But we made a determination early on. I'm like, we're just going to do this for ourselves. We're going to have fun, and we're going to make it, free flowing and easy. And if we laugh, we laugh. I'm not going to be clammed up by somebody who's sitting in an ivory tower somewhere, thinking what a broadcast should sound like or look. Right. I didn't care. I just wanted to have fun, man. And it's baseball, for Christ's sake. We're not curing cancer. It's freaking baseball. And you should have fun at a ballpark. And I made sure that we did that, or at least we tried to. And I'm glad you felt that way, because that was our intention. We wanted you to feel like you were just sitting in on a conversation at a bar between the two of us. And oh, by the way, there happens to be a major league game going on.
Right, exactly. And that was the best part. It's always kind of like I worked my schedule, 7:00 game, West Coast. Okay, cool. Boom, got to get home, got to do this. Okay, 7:00. If you're in Texas, 5:00. Okay, cool. As soon as I get home, turn it on. I'll worry about all the stuff afterwards. And it was just like, for me, and I'm sure a lot of fans, it was an appointment television, not only because it was the team you root for and the players you root for, but the kind of camaraderie you felt you had with you and Gooby in the box as the game's playing out. Obviously, another thing that you were very, very involved in is you can see it right over behind your head, that big fly. How is that going? How is that going? I think it's been 3 years now, strong, and
2 years. We haven't even actually. February 10th will be 2 years. It's crazy.
Wow,
it only feels like 10 years.
I thought it was 3, but
no.
But yeah, it seems like it's been around for a while. How's it going? And any any new stuff down the line?
Yeah, no, it's been going well. It's been an amazing couple of months. Matter of fact, Bill Shaken had reached out to me in early December about an article and about the business. And, I thought with the winter meetings going on, I didn't see it, for a couple of days. And we were already on the back end of Black Friday. And usually in December, it's, it's kind of hit or miss. It kind of rolls downward from a sales perspective. And I thought that he was going to put it off for later or whatever. And all of a sudden it came out. And we got a huge bump because of that, and it kind of opened up a lot of people's eyes to what we'd been doing. And then Mario Solis was kind enough that he called me and wanted to do a Zoom. And all of a sudden, it's like a week later. It was Wednesday. It was a Wednesday night. I was sitting on my couch watching TV with my wife, and it's about 8:30 here. And all of a sudden, random order comes in. I'm like, oh, and all of a sudden another order. And then I look on, I have the app for the store, and I can see how many people. And so all of a sudden there's like 250 people on the store. I'm like, I said, I wonder if they finally played that Mario Solis interview. And sure enough, Fred Rogan had run it on the small version of it on the air. So that opened things up, and we ended up having our best month ever. That day, that night of the Fred Rogan thing, that was our biggest day ever. Oh, wow. And then the month of December has been our biggest month to date, and somehow we continue to roll it into January, which is great. We just released a couple of new additions. Really didn't release anything new, but we added a Millville Meteor Raglan, the Bells logo, which is our tribute to women in professional baseball and softball. We added a Raglan for that, and then we also added a red kids version of the Millville Meteor as well. But we've got a Ken Griffey Jr., Ken Griffey Sr., the back-to-back home runs. That's coming out soon for pre-order. And then we're working on a bunch of different things. I might even do I've got an idea for a 60th anniversary Angels t-shirt. I think it'd be pretty cool. Kind of an honor of, I'm not even going to say it. I'll just wait till we do it. I want to break the tease.
That's what you get. That's a professional tease right there. Victor, I can't thank you enough for taking time out with me. And this is not our first conversation. This is, obviously something that I feel fortunate enough to be able to reach out to you and say, hey, I know, stuff's kind of crazy, man. Is there a way you can fit me in? And you've always been very positive and very open to that. And as a guy that's just, a fan, a guy that just, like I said, literally just gets home, has dinner, and then turns on the game and sees you there. I want to thank you very much as like I said, just a strict Angel fan, because that's what I am. I'm not a media guy. I'm not a paper guy. I'm just a dude that knows how to push play on a computer and talk. So,
well, Daniel, I think this is I think individuals like yourself are what baseball needs. I think the fact that you love your team and love the game itself, I think that's what we need more of, and be able to grow it a little bit more. So, and I'm hoping that in my new role that I can kind of reach out into the community, especially into the amateur side of things, and be able to kind of showcase the game of baseball to young fans and start developing that fan base again and diversify it a little bit more so that we get people to fall back in love with the game of baseball and forget the business side, because it's going to be there. But the game of baseball and the incredible talent that we see on display, whether it's at the amateur level, collegiately, or in the minor leagues or at the big leagues, I think it deserves to be showcased and talked about more so than the business side of things. Yeah. And because I think that really turns a lot of people off. But what you do and what a lot of bloggers and writers and people with YouTube shows do, I think it's a positive for baseball, and it's a perfect way to continue to grow the sport. And anytime I can help out, it's been a pleasure getting a chance to sit and talk with you over the last couple of years, and it's been an honor.
Thank you, Victor, again. And I guess I'm going to do this since, you've been telling us all this time. I'm going to tell you to drive home safely, even though you're home. I'm going to tell you to. I'm going to
drive myself right to the couch with my Tito's and watch some TV.
There you go. So I'm going to tell you to drive home safely, because after all these years, hearing it from you, I just feel like it's appropriate for me to say it to you. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, man. My pleasure. It's great getting to know you, and we'll stay in